So for my next assignment, we're going to still be using the foam head, but we're going to place our electrodes for VEPs and bears. Just an overview. So for VEPs, we're going to need OZ, O1, O2, A1, and A2. In order to monitor VEPs, we're going to have to place a few electrodes. And to do that, we're going to start by measuring out the anion from the nasion. Anion is this little bump on your head. The nasion is up where this little divot is right in front of the nose here, right above the nose. Anion. Right. So what we get from this measurement is 34 centimeters. So what we're looking to take from that is 10%. So 34, 10% of that is 3.4. So 3.4 centimeters up from the anion is going to be where our OZ is. So 3.4 is going to be our OZ. So that'll be our OZ. 10% up from the anion when taking the anion from the nasion measurement. So next I just have to get the circumference of the head, which is 54 centimeters, I would say. This is just measuring the circumference of the head. So 54 centimeters. So the circumference of the head is 54 centimeters. We already have our OZ, and in order to find our O1 and our O2, we need to take 5% of that 54 centimeters and go 5% to the left for O1 and then 5% to the right for O2. So let me get my tape out. So what I usually do for this is I'll go 10% of 54, which is 5.4, and then I'll usually cut that in half to get the 5%. So 5% of the 54 is 2.7. So what I'm going to do, take my tape measure, measure 2.7 centimeters to the right to get our O2. And then I'm going to also measure 2.7 centimeters to the left to get our O1. Okay, so what we have here is the OZ right here. And then to the left, we went 5%, the 2.7 centimeters left. And then to the right, to get our O2, we went 5%, the 2.7 centimeters to the right. OZ, O1, O2. So now for A1 and A2. They kind of look like little earrings, so that's kind of how I remember that. A1 is going to be on the left side of this earlobe. A2 is going to be on the right side in that earlobe. And you just want to make sure that they don't go through to the other side. But that is basically it. A2, A1, OZ in the middle, 10% up from the anion, 5% away from OZ to the right, to the left is O1, 5% to the right is O2. So next up is how we place electrodes for bears. Or in other words, the brainstem auditory evoked response. Just an overview for bears, we'll need CZ, A1, and A2, and that's it. So to start out, I'm going to take my handy dandy tape, and I'm going to measure tragus to tragus, which is this little part in front of the So, right in this area here, tragus to tragus, right there. So I'm going to measure that. It seems to be 34. So 34 centimeters from tragus to tragus. So in order to get what we need for bears, which is right now CZ. So CZ is 50% of this tragus to tragus measurement. So half of 34 is 17. So what we're going to do is put an electrode right at 17, which lines up perfectly with measurement. Okay. Alright, so this is going to be CZ right in the middle here. And I'm just going to double check it, going from medium to medium. It should line up to be about in the middle of that also. Perfect. So now that we have our CZ here, we need to just place the A1 and A2. So again, A1 left side earlobe, so make sure it doesn't puncture all the way through so you can still get a signal. A1, A2 is on the right hand side. Same thing, make sure not to puncture through completely. You still want to get a reading. That's our A2 on the right side. So for bears, we are looking at EZ, which we measured tragus to tragus and took 50%, and just double check that with the Mesian to Inian measurement. They should line up to be about 50%. Then we have A1 and A2.